All right, let's talk about some gay shit. Put on heat in July.
Nothing is perfect.
You know, the headphones just
They don't make your hair look cute.
Yeah, it's not, especially when you got a little bob.
No, because it's...
Yeah. Hopefully everything's heard.
Hopefully everything's perfect.
When I notice I lose focus, I just realign. I'm on my grind.
All right. So today's topic, it's a big one. I've wanted to actually do this one with you for a long time because we're going to talk about your coming out story.
Yeah.
Because I know it, but I don't think I really know it.
I'm really excited to talk about it too. It's something that I literally it's been such a long, drawn out process, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But just being comfortable saying on social media that I was gay is something that didn't really come until after moving here. And I moved to California when I was 32.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just coming into a space, and really, whether you're gay or know someone who's gay or part of the LGBT community, I think it's so important to hold the story for yourself, what it means to just come into the space of being who you are. And I think that a gay person has to experience that in a different kind of way, because it's something that people can see a difference, especially if you are open in a relationship, open about being in a relationship. Right. I don't mean open if you got 6 husbands, you obviously gay if you're a dude. You know what I mean? But so I'm excited to share it because it's been really good lately. Literally, my current boyfriend, Nell, you were part of setting us up. My grandfather, I found out that I was gay officially because of Nell. So literally last year.
Oh, your grandfather found out you were gay.
Yeah,
officially.
My grandfather.
I thought you said, I found out I was gay officially because of Nell. And I was the fuck?
After all the years, all the dicks. I'm just kidding. I'm just not sure.
One more. Let me try one more.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I decided. And now with Nell, I'm yep, this one's sticking. I'm definitely gay.
Okay, but I can't imagine really what that whole experience would be like. And I've heard so many different people say oh, I knew when I was really young. I knew when I was in kindergarten or something like that. Did you know when you were really young, that you were gay? I mean, maybe not that word, maybe you didn't realize it was that, but did you know you were attracted to boys?
No. Even though I was and as a little boy, I always identified more with girly things. And, but I just, as I got older, I sort of grew out of a lot of that. When you stop playing with toys, who cares if you like to play with Barbies? Because you know what I mean? So, or dress up.
Give me the Barbie.
Yeah. At house, I was I want to be the mom. But so it wasn't so that was obviously I identified more, with my feminine side.
Okay.
But I didn't realize that I was attracted. I thought that experimentation and stuff, a lot of little kids have little things here or there with their friends. I'll show you mine if you show me yours type situation. I just thought that was curiosity. I didn't think it was anything to do with sexual desire. But it's important to note that I grew up very, very religious. So I didn't have space in my mind to even think it was a possibility to be gay. Okay. And also being gay was bad when I was a kid. There was a house in our neighborhood that was always really decorated. They really went all out for Christmas or Halloween and all these things. And I didn't know these people, but what I did know is my parents, who have since changed, but would say be careful when you walk by that house, they're gay. It was something to be afraid of those people. They were so lost. So I didn't know in my childhood at all, even though in hindsight, I can be okay, I didn't know I was gay, but there were signs.
But there was, well, mom should have.
Yeah, mom sure should have.
So when did you start to maybe realize then that you were gay or that you were having attraction? Was it high school? Was it middle school? Was it not until like college years? Like when was that?
It was late, like after I was like 19 years old when I really started to feel that kind of attraction. Before that, the thing is, I love women.
Okay.
Yeah. So before that, I liked women. Okay. And so I had like some girl crushes, but it was all, everything you see, all the shows I watched on TV, all of my friends, it's like the guys get with these girls and you're like cute couples and I liked that. I liked the attention. I liked when like we were in youth group because I was homeschooled my whole life, but the church I went to the youth group had like 200 kids in it. So it was a big, still a lot of social interaction. So like coupling up and stuff at 16, 17 was fun, but I really didn't have any sexual attraction towards any girl like that. And I thought I was nervous. I was planning to save sex till marriage because of the church I was at, all the stuff. So plans definitely went awry there. But so yeah, I didn't really know. But when I turned 19, I got a job at this restaurant. It was the first place in Ohio at the time. It might be like this all over the country, but you couldn't drink till you were 21, but you could serve alcohol when you turned 19. Okay. So I stopped working at Bob Evans that didn't serve alcohol because I wanted to make more money, and I got a job at this place. And they said, let's go to this gay bar. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't know what that's going to be like. But there was part of me that was really excited about it in hindsight.
Okay.
And so they took me. It was called Celebrities. And it was, I'm just turned 40. And so this is 21 years ago. And Celebrities closed a few years after we went.
Okay.
But it was like, a gay bar that had been around for 15 years before that. So since like the early 90s. Oh. So
was this a dive bar?
So it was like it felt like a disco.
Okay.
And anyways, this guy who was my age, so also not drinking, but old enough to be in the bar, was like, oh my God, you're so cute, and started giving me attention. And I obviously immediately was like, I'm straight, but I loved the attention. Like it felt really good.
Okay.
So I think that was the first moment where I was like, but we can be friends. And probably deep down in the back of like, there was a piece of me that was like, oh, I'm finally going to get to be who I am. You know what I mean?
So it was in the back of your mind maybe a little bit, or no, it was still like more of a subconscious thing?
It was total. I didn't have any thought, any fear, any question like, what if I'm gay? That was just not present.
So, but when did that start? Like, okay, so you go to Celebrities, that kind of started. So then what happens? Like, at what point do you realize like,
well, so the problem is I started doubling down on not being gay because I became friends with a gay person. Okay. I started going, like, we went to Celebrities. So and then a new gay bar opened in my town, club called Mask. And everyone really did go there because it was a really cool club. So a lot of straight people went there, but it was still a fully gay club. And so me and my friends would go there. And so because of being in those spaces, I was even more building the narrative that I was not gay, that I was straight. And then I was
So in those spaces, you're building the narrative. So you're in the space and you're like, no, I'm not gay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like really a mind fuck.
It kind of does sound like it. I'm like, wait.
Because you're like, I love this, but this can't be who I am. And so you find excuses and ways that it works. Like, I just love everybody as friends, and the music's great, and people are friendly here at straight clubs. People are, you know what I mean? Like, you just start telling all these stories.
Excuses and stories.
So even though I was in more gay spaces, which felt really good, I was having to say more than ever that I wasn't gay. So it started this, like, I think internally that's when I started having little feelings. Like I'm sure I was seeing guys and feeling attracted to them. But it's like, I had to keep up this persona of being straight. So it was really weird. So that went on for a few years. So probably around 19. Hold on,
don't skip over that.
Okay, so
and that goes on for a few years. Well, fucking what? You're 19. Like, people at this point are having sex.
Mm-hmm.
You're not.
Nope.
Did you ever have sex with a girl?
One time that doesn't really count. It was with a friend,
Okay.
like, because I had a girlfriend, but we never slept together.
Okay.
Just made out and stuff, but I had a friend, and it was a few years later. I think I was probably 22 or 23.
Okay.
And it was one of those, like, we drank a whole bunch, and one thing led to another, and it's like.
And were you finally like,
am I in? Like, what's that?
You're like, I don't know how I feel about this.
But it was very like I was like, that's really too, when I was like, what am I doing?
Okay, so that was my question. So after that, were you like, I don't know, that wasn't what everybody says it's supposed to be?
Yeah, but that was complicated too, because it was a friend. So I was like, maybe I just feel bad because it complicated our friendship. It took me a long time to let go of, to just accept that I was gay.
Okay. So 19, gay. You're at the gay bars, doubling down, you're not gay.
Mm-hmm.
That goes on for several years. And you're in your mind, you're not gay.
It goes. So I turned 21. We were at the gay bar. I never drank before I was 20. So 21. So adding alcohol, I still, when I drank, I wasn't like getting trashed all the time, but I started drinking because it was fun. It was something I never did before. And I was like, wow. And then I met someone randomly. We're friends now, but Todrick was on tour of the Beauty and the Beast Broadway tour. It was exciting for him. I didn't know him before meeting him, but that was his first Broadway gig.
Okay.
And that's what he got his equity card and all that. And he was like, so people were infatuated with him because he was like in town as one of the performers, and he just really would light up a room. And some people felt the same about me. And so we were like, kind of started just talking like, oh, like you would talk to any stranger at a bar. And we ended up going to get food after and just had a really connected. And he was in Dayton for 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks, I went through an emotional roller coaster. And I did get drunk one night, and he drove my car back, and he was, because it would have not been good for me to drive. And we went to his, not just he and I, like me and him and our friend Shay went to his hotel.
Okay.
And just like to go to sleep, but we kissed. And it was the thing where the next day, because I had been drinking, I didn't even immediately think of it. And I like leave, and I was like, oh my gosh, I drank so much last night. And then all of a sudden I remembered the kiss, and I was like, and I was like, Donald. And it was this sense of you're slipping, you're letting go of control of your identity, of what people know about you, of what people think about you. And I literally then, at the end of his trip, was like, I think that just happened because I like made a story of I didn't get enough male attention in my life.
Oh,
and
wow.
so he was so I said, I think that because you're gay and I liked the attention I was getting from you, I didn't kiss you because I wanted to kiss you. I think I kissed you because I wanted to show up for you in a way that would be meaningful. I totally gaslit him because the truth is I wanted to kiss him, but I'm like, no, that wasn't for me. I just did that because I'm insecure.
So if you all want to know, Donald will just make out with you if you need it.
Yeah. I'll meet you where you're at, baby.
I'm going to call you up, boo.
So that was the first, that's when I was like, and then he left and he had a tour. And
wait, I have to ask, what was his response to that? Because I don't really know what Todrick's coming out story was, or like, so was he just like, all right, cool, bro? Or was he like, call me in a week when you...
He was really nice about that because I think he wanted us to stay he had feelings for me. And I obviously had feelings for him.
Did you guys ever talk about it? Looking back, was he like, no, man, I knew you were gay, but I was just giving you your space to figure it out?
Yeah. So this story continues. So he left Dayton And I felt like in the movies when like the person's at the train station, the train's going and they just want to run along the train. I literally felt such a connection. And I think it's because it was the first time that I let myself fall into that.
Okay.
And also this is really complicated. And I'm not saying this is right, but just to keep it 100, I had a girlfriend at the time and I loved her. I love her. She was just she was playing the wrong role in my life. And
the beard. The beard role.
I didn't want that to be her role. I wanted it to be real. I had such strong feelings for her, but it was just like I have strong feelings for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So anyways, I had convinced myself that was a drunken moment where I like getting male attention because I missed it from as a child. And then because he is gay, that's why I showed up that way. But it was for him, not me. And that was not going to happen again. Anyways, all I could think about was him when he left. And we actually talked a lot. Like every night on the phone, he would finish his show in whatever city he's in. And they were going to Hershey, Pennsylvania, like
I love Hershey Park.
2.5 months or so after that. Maybe 3 months after. And he was like, you should come. And I was like, I'll come. And he
say less. I'm already ready.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, and I literally borrowed a acquaintance's car because it was like I think it was a 9-hour drive. And I had never driven. I didn't think my car would be good to drive that far.
Okay.
And, this is 2007. So I burned a couple good CDs for the road trip. And I totally, as a friend, quote, drove to see him. But I also lied. And this is the thing about, I'm really understanding or empathetic when people like create these stories because they're afraid of just being honest with who they are. And as much as I regret lying, it was me just protecting myself in that way. But I told people that I was I was also at this time in my life part of this talent agency. And I told someone, I met someone at a thing with this talent agency. And I'm so embarrassed to admit this. Someone had like passed and I was going to the service. That's why I had to drive that far.
Oh my God.
I know, because I wasn't.
Wait a minute. You didn't even tell. First of all, we're re-recording this episode because our audio didn't record last time we did this. So I'm kind of glad.
That was the universe. It was like, you ain't going to give just a little breadcrumb of the story.
First of all, it was like, we got all the emotional stuff last time, but I didn't get any of the dirt. The dirt.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I told people I was going to a funeral. When I was actually going to see Todrick. Because no one was going to be like, why are you? Because if I was like, I'm going to anything else for a 9-hour drive, borrowing a car. And if I was like, I'm going to meet this guy, which my mom knew who Todrick was because she got him. I mean, he got her free tickets to Beauty and the Beast. Okay. Well, like he was a friend as far as everyone knew.
But you didn't feel comfortable saying, I'm going to see my friend.
Yeah.
Which is so funny because, again, red flag mom.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the same sex friend, no big deal.
Right.
Seeing the opposite sex friend, usually you're like, what's that all about? But it's funny that in your mind, because he was gay, even though he's still a guy, you're a guy, people know you as straight, you were like, I have to lie.
Yeah,
about where I'm going.
Terrified of people, and people expected now that I was doubling down on my story.
Was anybody asking you if you were gay, or was anybody like questioning, talking about it?
So my friends all defended me. Donald is not gay. Oh, he's just literally. I mean,
listen. That's what you do for your friends, and until they say otherwise,
exactly.
that is their story and their truth to find on their own. So
yeah. So, anyways. Drive to Hershey. But so as we're going, so his tour set up everything for the, like their rooms and stuff. And he was like, He was like, do you want me to ask them for 2 beds? Like I always get 1 bed because he got his own room, but he was like, do you want me to ask for 2 beds? And I was like, nah, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's okay. You don't have to go out of your way. It's like obviously gay as hell, like wanting to sleep in the same bed as him.
Right. He's offering you to have a second bed in the room. No big deal.
Like,
nah.
Yeah.
That's too much of a hassle. Like they have to wheel the bed in or something.
Yeah. And so it ended up being like
so he
little.
Knew you were gay, obviously.
Well, he was like, I'm sure he was talking to his friends like this straight guy wants the same bed. Like, yeah. And so I went and it was really fun. It was really cool. And it was gay. More kissing happened.
Keep icing over.
No, like we definitely, you know what I really appreciate about that time. And I'm a spiritual person. So I always say like, I'm thankful because I feel like the universe or God really put me in a lot of safe spaces because I could have driven that far to meet up with someone who I knew for 2 weeks and been in a really vulnerable position and sort of pressured to do things I wasn't ready to do. And nothing like that happened. But it was a very sweet, to me, it felt romantic and appropriate, like in ways that I was comfortable exploring that.
Okay, so you get there.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever the second kiss happens, are you like, fuck? Or you're still like, I'm just showing up for him?
No.
I mean, if I...
Then it turned into... I gotta do it. I don't know. Like, I have feelings. It sort of turned into... And so it's really about what I was going through at that time. Todrick just happens to be the person at that time of my life.
I'm just saying, were you like, so that
Well, I said to him, I just have these feelings for you, but I can't be gay.
Okay. So you're like, you're understanding that now you have feelings for this person.
Yes.
But I still am not identifying as that.
Yeah. Okay. And we can't be together. Because he was like, okay, we were young, 20s, where if you have feelings for someone, you're like, this is going to be my person forever. And I was thinking that and feeling that, but I couldn't accept it.
Got it.
So I was like, and then, but for years, he and I kind of had that. Well, I guess I can speak for myself. For years, I really had strong feelings for him and would take trips or go places for extended periods of time to be around him. And it was really difficult because I lacked the emotional maturity to understand what I was feeling. So it was all about him in my mind. And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm started to realize I would say I'm bi, or I would say in the religious circle I came from, I would say I have same-sex attraction, because that also is like acknowledging something you feel without making it a declaration of who you are.
Okay.
And I wasn't ready at that time to be like, I'm gay.
So if you were saying to somebody, I have same-sex attraction, what would that response be?
Well,
like was somebody like, boo, you gay?
Well, that's what a normal person, but in my church, it would be, well, let's pray for God to heal that. To take it away.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They didn't say, oh, this person's gay, because they didn't believe anyone was gay.
Right.
They would say they're struggling with same-sex attraction because of whatever happened to them. Not because they were born that way. It always was because of something that happened in their life. Yeah.
So, okay. So that leads me to another question then. So do you start then searching your mind for like what happened to me to make me have same-sex attraction?
Totally. I did. I kind of even made I didn't make up stories, but my parents had me so young that I was like, I didn't get like my dad wasn't as present for me, Now I just turned 40. I'm thinking of me being born. My dad's 20. He was very present, but he was also still growing.
Right.
And so there's just different things. And also now I obviously believe I was born gay. And I think when you have expectation to connect with like a father-son throwing a ball and doing these things. And when you don't get that, you're like, that's what turned me gay. When you actually didn't get that because I don't give a fuck about throwing a ball.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like,
brush this purse. Barbie's goddamn hair with me or keep it moving, Dad.
That's not how you braid.
Right. I said French braid.
Skirt doesn't match. What's wrong with
Jesus. But I did.
Okay. Okay, so now you're dealing. So what age are we still at 21 at this point?
So we're like, that was like 21 to 23. I was sort of wrapped up in, I was lying about my feelings for Todrick, but I had an on and off thing with him. And then some other guys in between, because, you know, we'd be like, get in a fight. And then I would just go out and talk to somebody else and sort of, but it was never, it was so unhealthy. Because in my mind, it was so like momentary. It's sort of like, I can't speak to this, but I imagine when someone has an addiction to really hard drugs, how they just need a fix. That's how I was treating these gay experiences, like a little fix so that then I can get by my ordinary life. And it makes a lot of sense. I even heard being gay is different than being a trans person. But I heard about before, it just makes me think of this, before Caitlyn, when Bruce Jenner, before became Caitlyn Jenner, I still don't know exactly if I should always refer to that person as Caitlyn now, but would back in the day, like take trips and dress up like a woman and walk through places just to like get that fix.
Right. Just to feel it.
Yeah. And I think that that's what I was experiencing, but still in my church and with my friends and with my family and people closest to me, I couldn't be honest. And so it was a really lonely
I was going to say, so you're keeping this all to yourself. You're hiding it from everybody. You're probably having to lie more at this point of like where you're going or who you're with. And were you still living at home with your parents?
So I lived at home. The thing about early on in that 21 to 23 time frame, I left. I did things for several months at a time with Todrick, whether they would be like show projects, one of his musicals.
Like you would work on them?
Yeah. Okay. And that would take me out of my hometown.
Okay.
But then those times would often end like with me not being able to stay because I get too wrapped up emotionally, because in my mind, it's not about me being gay. It's about this person is just the love of my life. And it's so heavy and confusing at that time.
Okay.
So
we're 23 now. I didn't realize it was this long for you.
Yeah.
I guess because by the time I met you, I knew you were gay when I met you.
Yeah.
My sister wasn't sure if you were gay. I was like, really?
You're like, really? Are we talking about the same person?
I was like, I'm pretty sure he is. But you definitely, by the time I met you, which was, I think, like 32, you were about 32 when I met you. You were comfortable in it. So obviously, like at what point, so 23. So when do you finally go,
I'm gay?
I'm gay.
You know, like being able to say I'm gay really didn't start until my 30s.
Really?
Yeah. Like I would be like, oh, I like him. It's because of how I was programmed and how I was raised.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
But
I did.
You went 20 years without being able to say it? You were like 10.
Yeah. Wow. Without saying I'm gay. Like I came out to my mom when I was, so, okay. I
want to get to that.
Yeah.
But okay. So I guess the question is from the time you realized it, how long was it until you told somebody, be it your mom or a friend or whoever, that you realize you're gay?
I started telling people, I wouldn't talk about it in that way. I would say to some of my close friends, a few of them, like, I would say things like, if the lights are off, who's going to turn them on to check? Like I would turn really vulgar, but it's because that felt more acceptable than like saying I was gay.
Okay.
And so, or being like, I like everybody. I'm equal opportunity. I would start saying things like that, which also was not true.
Right.
And it still was also causing pain because there were some females in my life that I would lead on just because I couldn't let go of, I couldn't accept the fact that I was not going to be with a woman.
Right.
Which is crazy now. So it was around 23, 24 years old. I probably started opening up some friends about it. But if someone would ask if I was gay, I would never say yes. I'd be like, oh, you know, it's weird. I in my mind at the time, I just couldn't say I was gay.
So you would just sort of avoid the question, or you would just...
I think I would always talk about a circumstance. I'd be like, I don't think I'd say I'm bi, but I'd be like, well, it depends on who's asking. You know what I mean?
Like a joke.
Exactly.
So where nobody would really quite be able to tell, is he just being funny?
Kind of like, yeah. And people could kind of tell too. It's like, okay, he's not about to actually have a conversation about that.
Okay. So shut it down also.
Yeah. Playfully shut it down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So 5 years already that you're having all the feelings, but are not willing to accept the feelings.
Yeah.
So was there like a moment or a person, I don't know, was it Todrick or somebody that made you just like realize like, okay, this is me and I'm going to have to start accepting it?
Well, I think Todrick was the start of it. And then as things started happening more, I just started realizing like I'm constantly drawn to this. So then I told myself, when I move, I'll be able to, and I didn't mean out of my parents, I meant out of Ohio. I can be honest with all of these people I love because I'll be far enough away that, because I didn't know how I could live in the space with people who A, had religious and spiritual beliefs against being gay, and B, I'd been lying to.
Right. And they had defended you.
And they defended me.
Right.
I mean, my cousin Sarah, she came to my birthday party. She was like,
Sarah's the makeup artist.
No, that's Maggie.
Oh, okay.
I'll show you her picture. Okay. Yeah, a lot of people were at that party. So they, but Sarah got me my first job at Bob Evans, and some guy actually like wrote me a note and said I was cute and stuff, and it made me very uncomfortable because I was just 16 at that time, and I in no way had accepted that, and it felt like when you're a kid, like when I was little and someone would be like, are you a girl or a boy? Like I felt so identity.
People would ask you that when you were little?
Yeah, it's probably because, I was limp wristed and like high voiced and doing some kind of dance in a dress. I don't know. I don't know what could have confused anyone, but, like full contour beat face. But she literally punched him in the face. My family, there's some scrappers.
Okay,
like,
I'm here for it.
Yeah. And so she literally walked up and popped him in the face and said, you don't talk to my cousin like that. Because I was it was like, how am I going to come out to a world of people who have defended me this way?
Okay.
So that's what I told myself.
So you knew you wanted to move out of Ohio, obviously.
Yes.
And was any of that feeling of wanting to move out of Ohio because of everything you were experiencing, or you just obviously wanted, I mean, it's Ohio. No offense to Ohio. We're born and raised, but offense.
Yeah. I think I wanted to move because I liked the idea of like being in a bigger city and stuff, even though I hadn't really traveled much before that. But also, I think subconsciously, like the part of me that I wasn't really letting speak or make decisions was like, let me go someplace where I can be free. So you
decided to go to Nashville, to the Bible Belt?
So yeah, great decision.
Story gets better by the minute. Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, Todrick thing kind of fizzled out. Like I said, we're still friends. So now today, so it fizzled out in a way. It's like, I started having other experiences with other people or feelings or crushes. And it was like, okay, this is me, not just something that he, like I have
that he triggered.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And I started to know, but like not share. And it was just a lot of lying.
Okay.
And when I got the opportunity to go on a tour with my brother's band, Anthem Lights, they're a Christian band, and the tour was in a lot of churches, a couple like high school football fields, and we had one arena, but all the other places were like these big churches. And that's the first time I came out to a family member. I talked to my brother because
your brother was the first one to know.
I think he was the first immediate family member to know.
Okay.
Because I was like, I can't go on this tour because I was going on as a guest singer with his band. And I was like, if this comes out somehow or, like whatever, I don't want him to be blindsided.
Right.
So I took him to sushi and I was like, we were just, shooting the shit, eating sushi. And I was like, I want to talk to you about something. He was like, okay. And so it got really emotional. And it's, when you have years of lying and hiding and being a secret, and then you start to let that come out, the physical feeling you have, it's like you can't speak. I mean, that's how you feel. Like,
right.
I've always wanted to say, it's like, oh my God. But I finally got it out. We're both crying.
So you're sitting at sushi?
At sushi in the middle of this half off sushi place in Dayton, Ohio. It's like, how fresh can this half off sushi be? And it was just a really beautiful conversation. He told me he loved me and he couldn't imagine how hard that would be. And he really appreciated me telling him. And
did you do the tour?
I did the tour.
Okay. And he was okay with it. He wasn't like...
Yes, but I didn't tell anyone else. I wasn't out. Right. I just told him.
You just told him, like...
Which, God forbid, a closeted Christian music artist. Like, trust me, the industry is flooded with them.
Just outed everybody.
Yeah.
You just threw them all under the bus.
I got a list.
If you're doubting it, reach out to your friends. I've smacked my face on this microphone 3 times now.
And we don't have our headphones.
I feel like the headphones maybe keep me further back from it. But now that I'm not tied to the headphones, I'm like, whack.
So funny.
Okay. So
I came out to
some
him.
Friends know. Now your brother knows. But you're still not comfortable.
Well, and another note, like when I came back from one of my trips early on that I went to with Todrick, I went to a church and I was actually employed at this church as the worship leader. And the pastor at the time, who's my friend, also is gay, but was closeted. It's a female. She was not out.
Okay.
And I didn't know she was gay because, and it's so weird. You'd think like game would recognize game, but we were both just like lying to ourselves and everybody else and each other. And we could have been there to support each other, but it just wasn't in the realm of possibility for us. And she sat me down and she started sobbing, like almost shaking, telling me that after I went on that trip, I was acting more gay and the way I was walking was different. And I know it's terrible, but hear me out. It was very, very painful for me to hear, but she was crying and shaking while she was saying it. And what that was her,
of course,
seeing like someone else who's in the same position of her starting to loosen the reins, starting to lose control of the narrative of what we want people to believe, of everything being okay. And we're the two most visible people in the church. She was giving the sermons. I was leading the worship. I mean, there's worship teams, other people on stage, but, I was like, I'm not gay. Like, it's okay. So it was just so layered.
Was she asking you if you were gay or was she like warning you? Like,
you can't be gay. You can't be gay. You just can't. We can't have a gay worship leader. You can't. That's what she was saying.
And really, she was just saying it about herself.
Totally.
Obviously.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're very good friends now. Like family. And neither of us work in the church currently. So anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So you moved you're in Nashville at this point?
So when I did that tour with my brother, it was in 2013. It was the end of 2012, beginning of 2013. That's when I moved to Nashville. It was based out of Nashville. And I was like, I'm ready for a move. And I just leap of faith. I literally didn't even have $1,000 to my name. I had a friend who was like, you can sleep on my couch until you find a place. I stayed with her for like 3 weeks. And then someone else needed a roommate. Back at our rent, like my portion of it was like $420 a month.
Oh, I know. When I lived in St. Louis, I literally paid like $300 for like,
and I was like, I hope I can do it.
My half of a 2-bedroom.
Right.
When I moved to LA and paid $600 for a studio and was like, I'm not going to be able to live.
Exactly.
But we digress. Okay.
Yeah. So I was in Nashville. And I was no longer working at the church of the story I just told, but I was singing at a much larger church. I wasn't the worship leader, but they paid us to sing, and they had 5 services a weekend, and they still had me come back from Nashville to Ohio to sing every once in a while. And I was driving back one weekend to sing. So this is early part of 2013. And
And you're how old?
So I would have been like 27. I would have turned 28 that year.
Okay.
So I was 27, and it was in February. Actually, I remember because it was the same week. The coming week was going to be Valentine's Day, and I was driving back to Ohio to sing at the church, and I just felt emotional, and I was like, "You said when you moved, you were going to be honest," and I'd opened up to my brother. One of my brothers. I opened up to a lot of my friends. Never used the words I was gay.
Okay.
But I would like share my feelings. I would share truths about like what happened with Todrick, because they all knew him as my friend. I was like lying about all these different things.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, I went and I got in, I think on a Friday. I sang 2 services on Saturday, 3 services on Sunday. And by the last service on Sunday, I could barely get through the songs. And I was singing like in a microphone leading. And I was so emotional. I called my mom. I knew I had to tell her.
You're like, it's here. It's boiling.
I was
it's over.
Explode.
Okay.
I couldn't have survived.
It was time.
So I went, and she was like cooking in the kitchen, and she was the only person there. And I checked to make sure, because I didn't want to have a shared conversation with her, because I love her and my dad, but our relationships are different. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to have that moment with her. And so I was like, I wanted to talk to you about something. She was like, okay. And I was like, all of a sudden, that same feeling when I was talking to my brother, like there was something in my throat.
The gulp.
Speak. There was an elephant sitting on my chest. I was she was like, you can tell me anything. She could tell I was really struggling with trying to say something. And I was like, well, I just want to say before I do, I can't have you respond. Like, this is my time to share. And I can barely hold my feelings. I don't have room to hold yours. So
that's pretty impressive to even think to say that.
Yeah. So she just listened. She looked at me, and I could tell with a heartfelt was listening. And I was like, you know how I've always had been friends with gay people. And I mentioned my friend Gina, because she came out since we met her. And I mentioned Todrick, and I mentioned some other people. And I was like, well, I always made it. And I'm saying it calmly right now, but I was crying.
Of course.
I was like, I always have talked about them. Like, I care about them, and God loves them. And like, I stand up for them, but I actually identify with them. Like, that's how I said it. I still couldn't say the words I was gay. I didn't say I'm gay. And she was like, okay. And I was like, I'm really sorry. I just always wanted to make you proud. But I was like, I realized I can't control these feelings, but I can control being a liar. And I feel like not telling you started to feel like lying. And you're the last person that I would want to lie to.
Oh.
And she was like, I love you. Nothing would make me not feel proud of you. And because of the narrative we heard, I said, don't blame dad.
Why would you say don't blame dad?
Because
because again, the male attention.
Yeah, male attention, showing up, not throwing a ball with me, all those silly stories that you're taught in the church world that we grew up in. And her initial response was, why? And I said, because it's not his fault, Mom. And she was really struggling. And I said, I'm going to go. And I was like keeping a force field around you finding out. So I was like, if you need to call your prayer chain, and tell them what I've told you, your friends. You can literally talk to anyone. This isn't a secret anymore. I said, and if you feel that it's wrong and that I need to change, talk to God about it, but don't talk to me. Because if I feel that you start to try to manipulate me or change me in our conversations, it will affect our relationship and how close we are.
Wow.
And she was like, okay. And I left.
And then I left.
I was like, bye, bitch.
Yeah.
Good luck.
You can find me at the club, Mom.
Yeah. And I have a go-go dancing shift. So I'm just kidding. I'm going to go shake ass. No.
Okay.
That's a joke.
Yeah.
I always said God never let me have the body I really wanted because he knew I'd be some like a hard, lifelong stripper. I would retire on that box. Anyway.
Don't be so sure.
Yeah.
Okay, but if we have to,
yeah.
It's getting dangerously close these days.
Right.
Okay. So you have that conversation with your mom.
Yep.
First of all, I just want to acknowledge, like, you're talking about, again, almost 10 years from the time you start to have feelings to the time you actually tell your mom and acknowledge it for yourself, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you haven't even fully acknowledged it for yourself. I just think it's so important because, I mean, we're in California, we're in Los Angeles, where it's so accepted everywhere that you just don't even stop to think that people might be going through these struggles. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I have had and have so many friends that are a part of the LGBTQ. Plus. And I know there's, yes, other letters that have been added. You know, I was a dancer, so I grew up in the world. And so it was never really like, but I was in Ohio. So it wasn't ever, as a kid, I didn't have, no, we did. There was a photographer, Monroe, that was friends with my dad. So it was just never talked about. But I remember seeing the first time when I got to college. College was the first time I ever saw two guys kiss. Mm-hmm. Like I remember walking out of my dorm room and seeing two guys kiss. So I'm just saying it's, while we're so used to it now, I think for people listening, it's so important to understand how hard this experience could be for somebody. Like I never realized it was that long for you.
And it doesn't need to be that hard. Like we can, and now like my mom is so committed to helping people know that there's safe space and helping other parents who are from conservative religious backgrounds know that like their beliefs you could sort of take a second look, ask yourself, is this real? Like, or is it doing more damage? Is it worth what you could lose with your family? And I just want to say too, after I came out, I started realizing, even sitting here, when I was young, someone was throwing away all these bodybuilding magazines and I kept them and hid them because of the guys. Like I had attraction, but when you grow up in the type of borderline cult religious background that I grew up in, there was no room for me to actually think, am I gay?
Right.
It was just this like wild instinctual attraction that I would turn my mind off to when it wasn't happening.
Yeah. What I was going to say about that was, it's so interesting to me though, that you would hide it because a boy looking at a bodybuilding magazine isn't a big deal because that's like, like women looking at fitness magazines like that. But to you, because you weren't looking at it thinking, I want to be a bodybuilder. Like you knew in your mind that it needed to be hidden.
Yeah.
But it's like, if your parents would have found a bodybuilding magazine, they probably wouldn't have thought twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like they find a Playboy, they're going to be upset.
Yeah.
But they're not going to think my son has a bodybuilding magazine. That's a problem.
Well, I learned about correcting my behavior very young because I wanted to play dress up and boys don't do that. Or I wanted to play with Barbies and they're like, well, here, play with G.I. Joes instead.
Okay.
Or I wanted to watch, Little Mermaid and they'd be like, well, why don't we watch this instead? It's like them at their very young age and the plays they grew up in. Just you learn about having to correct what you want and your behavior to try and be how you're quote supposed to be.
Did your mom, I'm talking about now since obviously you've come out and everything, did your mom ever end up saying like, well, looking back, I sort of knew?
No, but it would be really interesting to have this conversation with her because even like me, like I'm just remembering things like those magazines, or when we first got internet, I had a teen behind my name. I think I was younger than 16. I would or see things online, and my dad one time was like, I saw what you guys were looking at online, and I'm just going to say I wanted to stop. And I don't know if he was talking to my brothers or me.
Were you looking at porn?
It was it wasn't porn, but it was like gay erotic shit.
Oh.
It wasn't like hardcore porn,
okay,
but it was like guys in Speedos and stuff like that. Normal. It's normal, but it felt so unnormal. There wasn't room for it to be normal. And also, when I was a teenager and young adult, I became aware of my mom's cousin who had passed away. His name was Jimmy, and he was gay and in a life partnership, and he died of AIDS.
Oh, wow.
And the family talked about him fondly, but also blamed his homosexuality as if it killed him, except for my grandmother, who I was very close to, and I never came out to her. And she died shortly after we wrapped filming 80 Day Obsession. But she did say to me, Donald, because that would have been her nephew, my nephew, Jimmy, I loved him. And he came over and he used to say, Aunt Bunky. They all called her Aunt Bunky. Aunt Bunky, I'm really trying to change. I went to the priest and asked him to pray for me. And she said, I told him, Jimmy, your Aunt Bunky doesn't care about what you do. I just don't need to know the details about. She said, I don't care if you do it in the kitchen, in the living room, in your bedroom, and I want you to have fun and be safe. I don't have to know the details, and neither does anyone else, but I just love you. Aww. And I feel like when my grandma told me that,
she was telling you,
she was telling me, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I hold that conversation.
That's crazy though, that your grandma passed at the end of filming of 80 Day Obsession.
And I never came out to her.
You never came out to her?
Mm-mm.
You're on TV, gay, Gene.
I know.
There was no question by the end of 80 Day if you were gay.
Well, you know what's so funny? Even in 2016, 17, my first boyfriend I introduced my parents to, official boyfriend, his name is Chad. He lives in Nashville and he's still a friend of the family. I still was very nervous, even though both my parents knew I was gay.
Right.
I was so nervous about being honest about having a boyfriend, because that made it real and they'd have to see it. I carried shame for so long, longer than I had to.
Wow. I didn't, gosh, I did not know that. Honestly, I watched your personality change a little bit, not a lot, but I did watch you become more comfortable with yourself the longer you were here, from when you left Nashville to when you got here, and then the longer you've been here.
Yeah.
But I did not realize that, geez, when you moved here, you were still
very
experiencing
much.
it. What was your dad's reaction?
So my dad, I didn't end up telling him. I just was so emotionally drained. And I was I told my mom, I was like, I'm not going to be able to tell dad, but I will tell him if you don't. Just not right now. But if you feel that you need to share with him, you totally can. I didn't feel like it was I needed that conversation with my mom. I didn't need it with anyone else that way. And so the reason I said I remembered it was Valentine's Day is because I think it was Thursday that week after the weekend was Valentine's Day. And I got a text from my dad on that day that said, I love you, Dawn. And if you need to talk, I'm here for you.
Oh,
yeah. And I was like, it meant a lot. I mean, I got several texts like that over the next couple months from aunts and uncle and people just saying things like, I talked to your mom and I can't imagine how hard it's been to carry that secret. And
I'm glad though that they were just so
empathetic.
Yeah, that it wasn't being the way you grew up, that it wasn't a...
Well, I have an aunt now who has literally unfriended me, and even I think last year, so as recent as last year, sent me a message it's not too late to turn from my wicked ways.
What? You never told me this.
Yeah. She's on my dad's side, and bitch. I'm closer to my mom's side of the family just because we grew up more around them. I love my dad's side of the family, but this particular aunt, bless her, is probably until the day she dies just going to be the Bible thumping, being gay is wrong voice. And it is hurtful, but you know, the nice thing about waiting, because that would be really hard to get those messages if I came out when I was 21. Like let's say the day I kissed Todrick, the next day I was like, guys, some shit went down and I think I'm gay. Now when I see that, I really just feel bad for her.
Right.
And I feel a responsibility to share my story because people like her speak loudly.
Yes.
And we need to speak just as loud of acceptance and love. And because in secret is where people find themselves in dangerous positions.
Right.
So yeah. But I am thankful that I got all those texts. And my dad also showed my mom another picture. She told me this later and showed me the picture. He saw online a picture that he was like, I think God showed me this because it helped me with Donald. And it was a picture of a blue collar working class man, very much same demographic as my dad. And he was holding, the picture was black and white, and he was holding a sign that said, I fix machines all day for a living, but I can't fix my gay son. And then there was another picture of him in color, and he was holding a sign that said, because he's not broken. And even right now, when I say that, it makes me like get a little teary eyed because something so simple can speak volumes to someone. And I think about like a dad, like my dad, not knowing how to connect with a gay, like to not knowing how. There's no textbook to be a parent as it is. And when you come from that world and all of a sudden you have a gay son and you have a sister who's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just thought that was so cool and such a profound thing. And for him to say, make that statement, like Donald's not broken. He's how he's supposed to be.
Right.
So they were on board before I was. It was great. Because I struggled a lot after I came out with them. I felt exposed and I went through a little bit of a depressed, like now I'm being honest, but I've let go of the reputation I was trying to hold, making people proud. So I felt like I get to be honest, but now I'm a disappointment. And my parents get my brothers and they get to have wives and kids and normal lives. And my parents get to talk about them and be proud.
And so you didn't feel like, even though they were totally accepting,
I believed that they were ashamed.
Okay. So you just felt like, okay, outwardly they love me, but really like you're a disappointment that
they love me, but they wished I was different.
Right.
That's what I thought, but that's not true.
Of course.
And it just took time and healing for me to realize that.
You had, you mentioned before, you told me that your mom actually, you didn't know it at first, but your mom stopped. I don't know how you said it, like praying to God or talking to God or.
Yeah. So shortly after, so I was in that depressed phase, and then there was this church in Nashville, and this is a really good place to like put a cap on my coming out story. Yeah. It really meant a lot. This pastor of a huge church, a lot of celebrities went, Carrie Underwood went, was like feeling really conflicted because he hadn't made an affirmation statement for gay people in his church. And he just felt like he was riding a line and that was not right. He is straight. And I love a straight white male ally, like someone who it doesn't matter to him to speak out for gays personally, but he just feels this conviction to do what's right. So anyways, he did make this statement, and then the church really took a huge dive in attendance because of it. Like went from like 2,000, 2,500 people to like 300 people. Wow. But he never regretted it. And his name's Stan Mitchell. And if anyone is interested in seeing some really amazing posts and support for families and people of the LGBTQ community, check him out on Facebook. Anyways, he did a midweek service talking about the Bible and why it was important for him to become affirming of gays. And so a lot of churches are accepting, but they won't marry you.
Right.
They won't let you work with children.
Right.
They won't employ you. And he was like, it is no different. That's what affirming means. Like whether you're gay or straight, you are a child of God and you can serve in this place as anyone else can. Obviously still do background checks if you're working with kids and stuff like that, but not just
what should happen anyways,
for anyone,
straight or gay. Yeah.
So I sent the video to my mom, and this is like 2 years after I came out to her.
Okay.
And she was like, I was like, how did you feel about that video? And she said, I feel like I can read my Bible again. I was like, what are you talking about? Because, I grew up homeschooled, and my mom every morning when I got up was listening to worship music and reading her Bible. And she said, when you came out to me, I felt like I had to choose everything I thought I knew and understood about God or you. And she was like, and I'll choose you every time. And she said, I closed my Bible and put it down.
Yes,
and
Mama.
She said, I just felt like if there wasn't room for you, then I didn't want to be a part of it. And when she saw that sermon, she was like, I feel like I get to now have that thing that I loved again and love you. So it was really cool. And it meant a lot to me because she could have done that and told me, but she really respected when I said, I can't hold your journey and your feelings. Like, I'm dealing with mine. You talk. And she actually told me she went to a therapist because she was so mad at God, because how could God not love me? So it wasn't even like...
So she wasn't mad at God that you were the way you were. She was mad at God for being like...
She was like, I don't know if I want a relationship with God. Donald is amazing. And if Donald can't be accepted, then I don't want to be accepted.
Right.
And even her therapist was like, do you really think all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful God doesn't accept Donald? You don't think there's a fault in that thinking? And so so anyways, it was really beautiful. And that began a really special just openness and journey. And now my whole family, like, it feels so good to bring Nell, my boyfriend now, the love of my life, to my parents' house and play with the kids, and it just be like family.
Yeah.
And because it's something that, years ago, I didn't think could ever happen. So, yeah.
Listen, I think it's amazing. This has been so interesting and like eye-opening for me to hear this side of your story, because in 8 years, I think you've given me little pieces of it, but I'm kind of understanding now why. Yeah. I had no idea that even the first year you were here, like, I remember we went to New York, we went and saw Todrick, we went and saw him in Kinky Boots, we went to his apartment, we hung out. Like, I had no idea you were still carrying a lot of those feelings. Like,
even on my Instagram stories, then I spoke differently, because you learn to correct your behavior when you just don't know if the world will accept you. So I would talk a lot more. It's so cringe now. Like, if I see an old video, I'm like, Jesus Christ, Donald, who were you being? If anything, it's like, I should have been canceled for some kind of appropriation. I'm like, who am I talking like? And it feels really good just to be really happy. And I can say now today, and I never thought I would say this, if I could have a whole different life and be straight, I wouldn't want to. I love who I am. I love who I am. And that's just really special.
I love that you're there. And I love, honestly, that you have that you're sharing it on our podcast, but also people have like watched you now, obviously, like in the body realm, in the world, like background cast. And I just think it's like another deeper understanding of you, and honestly appreciating all the personality that you brought to those sets. Even in those moments, I guess, where you were still struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
I do feel like, though, looking back, like, you still showed up as Donald. But again, I actually did an 80-day obsession workout today because I could only do resistance band work right now. Mm-hmm. So I did booty. Mm-hmm. And it is funny because when I look at you then and I'm like, this barely looks like Donald. And it's not your appearance. I do think it's the way you carried yourself. Not that you carried yourself in a bad way, but I can see the difference from then, 2018 or 2017, really, when we filmed that, to 2025, and how much you've grown into Donald Samper.
Well, just a note on that, the Beachbody community and being in those programs is a huge part of what made me being comfortable with myself, because of the messages of people being like, when you were struggling, I got that, or when you said that, or when you made that face. And it just, all those little messages were reminders, like, I'm not supposed to be anybody else in this world except for myself. And that helps people.
Yes.
And so it's been amazing.
Well, I think speaking of helping people, we should drop some,
resources.
Thank you. Literally the word went out of my brain. I was like, we should drop some resources, because I think your story is really powerful. I think that people are going to listen that might be struggling with a family member or a friend, loved one, or maybe, trying to help them or trying to understand it for themselves. So we will drop some resources in the show notes.
Absolutely. And I would like to say too, if you're a mother and you're struggling how to show up for your child, please feel free to reach out to my mom. She really does believe that that's part of her purpose now. Her name's Jeannie Stamper. And you can find her on socials or hit me up. But if just specifically, if you're a mom in that position and you don't know anyone else who's been through it, she would love to.
You can always email us at everythingsperfectpodcast@gmail.com. As always, like, subscribe, comment, leave a review. We always appreciate that. And we will see you guys for the next one.
See you next time.